Hey guys, welcome to Cook to Nourish. In today's recipe, I'm going to show you how to make these delicious buttery Nankhatai cookies. So you start with palm shortening. You can also substitute coconut oil, but I really recommend using palm shortening for this recipe. So we first start by melting some palm shortening in either a saucepan or a microwave. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of measuring roughly, approximately. We need about 3 to 4 tablespoons. So I'm just microwaving that. Next, we mix all the flours. That is 1/4 cup of arrowroot flour. And next, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of cassava flour. That's right. So that first was arrowroot flour, next is cassava flour, and then we have a third different type of flour, which is tapioca flour. So this is again 2 tablespoons of tapioca flour. So now these 3 flours are really essential to give this cookie the right texture. Because I've experimented with various flour combinations, and this combination achieves the best texture. By the way, this recipe is from my cookbook, AIP Indian Fusion. Next, I'm just adding about 1/8 of a teaspoon of sea salt, and then the same quantity, 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda. Not quite there, so that's a 1/4 measure. So I'm doing half of it, 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda. And then you just kind of mix everything well together with a spoon, making sure everything is uniformly mixed. So, spend a couple minutes just mixing everything well. That way you have all the baking soda uniformly mixed. So Nankhatai cookies are really, a special Indian cookie, and these are soft and buttery, and they're not very sweet. They're very lightly sweet. Okay, this is an easy recipe. Now we just mix these flour mix with the melted palm shortening. So I'm going to measure and add 3 tablespoons to begin with. But I have come to realize that depending upon what state the palm shortening is, you may need more or less. So in my book, the recipe says, softened palm shortening, and that's 3 tablespoons is sufficient for this recipe. However, when you melt it, which is what I like because then it's easier to mix them, then you end up needing a little bit more than 3 tablespoons. So I'll show you the texture of what the dough should look like. Before mixing, now last you need 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. Now this is a really very small quantity of or small batch. It just makes 6 small cookies, but you can easily double or triple the recipe. I like to make a small batch so that I just don't end up eating too many of these. And then lastly, 1/4 teaspoon, I'm sorry, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now you just mix everything together using a spoon, and ultimately I like to use my hands to, and if you're making a big batch, you can obviously use your electric mixer or stand mixer. But this is a really small batch. I just like to make a small batch for myself. See, I'm adding extra melted palm shortening here because the dough was a little dry with just 3 tablespoons. So I think about 4 tablespoons melted palm shortening, or if you're not melting it and just softening it, then it's about 3 tablespoons. But basically what you need to do is to mix it, and then you should have like a soft dough and soft and kind of wet dough. So I'm just adding a little bit more. So overall I added, I think, about 4 tablespoons of melted palm shortening, and that gives it the right texture for the dough. And then you can divide it into 6 balls, equal sized balls, and then make the cookies. So here you go. I want to show you how moist it is. So add the palm shortening until you get this kind of dough, and make a take a small ball and then just roll it, between your palms and just flatten it with the palms of your hand, and that's the cookie shape. That's how traditional Nankhatai cookies are. You can also roll them, roll the entire dough and then cut it into shapes. Um, but you can't roll the dough too thin because then it'll stick and you may not be able to get the shape out. I like to do it this way, where I just form it into balls and then just press them, and see it's like a little bit thick. The center is a little bit thicker than the edges. And now I'm going to bake these for 15 minutes at 350 degrees until like the bottoms are golden, slightly golden, not very. And now make sure they cool down before you handle them. See, that's how, see, it's like very slightly golden brown. And they almost look like underdone. However, that's the texture you want. And see how crumbly they look from inside. These just melt inside your mouth. Trust me, these are absolutely delicious. They taste great as is, but sometimes I like to also, add some kind of jelly, cranberry jelly or strawberry jelly on top. Thanks for watching. Hope you can try this recipe. Visit cooktonourish.com for more recipes.